Some people like living in the city, like us. Other people like living in the suburbs. Today we're going to talk about a neighborhood that lets you do both, and we're getting after it right now. Today, we're going to be taking a look and learning all about Spring Branch, which is conveniently located just outside the 610 Loop. In my opinion, this is one of the best neighborhoods in Houston. In this video, we're going to cover what every newcomer needs and wants to know.
And stick around to the end because we're covering the absolute best. We're saving it for last.
That's right. Hey y'all, this is Drew Mims.
And I'm Carrie Fletcher.
With the Mims Group here in Houston, Texas. If this is your first time to our channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Houston, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and click that little bell so that you're notified every time we have a new video. We have so many people calling us and we absolutely love it. If you're making a move in or around Houston, be sure you give us a call, shoot us a text, an email, however you'd like to get a hold of us. We've got you covered when moving to Houston. Spring Branch, how easy is it to get around? Let's take a look at the map, get a lay of the land real quick.
Spring Branch forms sort of like this pie shape, this triangle, where its boundaries are 290 to the north, 610 to the east, I-10 to the south, and it bleeds over or crosses over just outside of the 8 tollway, or the tollway 8, over to the west.
Yeah, there's just a little snippet there that's west of the Beltway. Houston is a commuter city, so having a morning and evening commute that's short is a huge selling point for any neighborhood. Yeah. Spring Branch is uniquely situated close to downtown, so it's about probably a 10 to 12 minute drive depending on the time of day. It could be longer if you're like, there's a wreck or, you know, it's rush hour, but typically it's a pretty quick jaunt, like just by 10, Interstate 10. Mm-hmm. It's also close to the energy corridor, so anybody who works in oil and gas or, you know.
Yeah, and it's also convenient to the Med Center, Galleria, and downtown Houston, which are all major concentrations of employment here in the Houston area.
Exactly. So with access to Beltway 8, 610, I-10, really, you've got a pretty easy commute to just about anywhere, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, unless you're working out in the woodlands.
And if you've watched any of our other videos, commute and traffic time is just so important component of your overall, what do you call it, value of living, your
quality of life.
Quality of life, that's the word I was looking for, quality of life.
Nobody wants to spend half their day in the car. At least we don't.
We don't.
All right, so we're gonna talk about lifestyle. When the locals wanna go grab a drink after work or maybe a cup of coffee, you know, on Saturday, Sunday morning, brunch, they've got quite a few options. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there are a lot of local places for that. Nightlife is pretty quiet in Spring Branch. You've got, you know, some bars and places that you'll definitely find locals, you know, frequenting, but it's not.
You'll also find a lot of family friendly and dog friendly patio bars, areas where you can bring along.
I think the Kirby Ice House they've got one over in Spring Branch,
mm-hmm.
don't they?
And Carbach Brewery.
Carbach Brewery's another.
Very dog family friendly as well.
Craft brews,
mm-hmm.
That's a big thing here in Houston. The Houston Improv Comedy Club is a favorite, not just for locals, but all Houstonians. And mm-hmm. You've got some pretty big headliners that come in. So odds are, if you're into comedy, you have favorite comics that do the tour circuit, you're likely to be able to go see them there.
And right next to it is IMAX.
You get the IMAX,
yep.
Which is, you know, movies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great place to go see the movies. And if you want to do the whole 3D or IMAX thing, experience, that's pretty cool. And you've got some restaurants, and you're right down the road also from IKEA. Mm-hmm. So that's, if you're into that, that's right there. So the thing to remember is that you're super close to the Galleria, City Center, the Heights, downtown, Montrose. There's lots going on within a 10 to 15 minute drive. So you're never gonna be without something to do. This is, I think Spring Branch, think of it as it's your neighborhood where you're going to live. and you're always close by, you know, to go out to eat, that kind of thing.
Close by to anything you want to do.
Which leads us into, how's the food? So
we can't get through a video without going deep dive into the food.
So Spring Branch is about as good as it gets. Is anywhere in Houston in regards to food, which is actually saying something.
Yeah, you know, we had that friend that came here from Portland, and Portland is known to be this foodie mecca, and he lived there and loved it. And after spending about a week here in Houston, his comment to us is like, man, Portland has nothing on Houston when it comes to food. This is a true foodie mecca. And I thought that was that was a completely unsolicited comment back to us.
It is, absolutely. So you can find all kinds of food restaurants in Spring Branch, but in particular, you're going to find a lot of Korean restaurants. German, obviously, because of the German influence. You've got Mexican, Vietnamese, Greek, and even Polish.
Yep. And always some good Texas barbecue. Just about every part of town has a good barbecue spot.
That's true. Food. And there's even a Mexican vegan restaurant, which is pretty interesting. I went there for lunch one day.
Yeah.
It was actually really pretty good. So Spring Branch is also, you know, not far from Memorial City and City Center. So you also have access, you know, if you live in Spring Branch, to all of everything that those places have to offer. So you've got anywhere from chill to upscale as far as restaurants go. So you've got like Hop Dotty's Burger Bar, which was very popular. I think they started off in Austin, if I'm correct. There's always a line out the door. You've got Raw Sushi, Yard House. There's even a Brazilian steakhouse.
Fogo de Chao.
I don't think it's Fogo de Chao. It's a different one.
Okay.
You've got Brio, Sweet Paris Creperie, which is yum if you like crepes.
Well, and we had our Christmas dinner get together with our friends at Eddie V's
delicious.
Right there in City Center. And why?
That's a seafood steakhouse.
Yeah, seafood steakhouse. But why did we do that? Because it was conveniently located for everybody. We were coming in from the Heights, and they were coming in from the suburbs, and that was kind of
like every
central.
suburb. Like some of them live in the Woodlands, some were in Missouri City, Fulshire, Sugarland, like all over the place. So that was actually a really good, like, kind of halfway,
convenient point.
middle point.
For all
so pretty convenient. Creperie, Brio, Tuscan. There's a Cycle and Anaya's if you like Mexican food. So you've got pretty chill on up to pretty high swank, you know. So while there are a lot of great restaurants that are right down the road in your neighborhood, you're also, again, super close to some really great
mom and pop restaurants that have been around for generations that are just fantastic.
Yeah. They're like in the neighborhood, and then if you want to drive a little bit, you've got a bunch. Huge selection.
So your area of expertise, what's the housing market look like?
Well, the homes in Spring Branch tend to be a little bit older, although, you know, a lot of them have been renovated. And in fact, you've got builders coming in and tearing down houses and building these McMansions. We've got, in fact, a good friend of ours, his mom moved into like a retirement community, and they sold her house, and he grew up in that house actually. And a builder actually bought it and just scraped the whole thing, and which was sad. But
built a brand new beautiful
home. It's, you know, it's progress.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of that.
Now the lots, how do they compare with some of the other lots that are considered inner loop, inner city?
Well, so it's just outside the loop, but if you're comparing it like to an inner loop neighborhood, the lots, of course, are going to be a little bit bigger on average. So you're looking more probably like 7,000 and up. But you're going to have some larger lots. You know, you've also got, like, it's just as far as like to give a feel of the area, you've got these older homes and these older communities mixed in with these new communities that are popping up too. So you've got like some gated homes.
Gated communities, not gated homes.
Gated communities, yes.
That's okay.
So when we're talking pricing, and I'm just going to give you a broad overview, because when we look at that map that go back to that triangle, the closer in sections tend to be on the pricier side, and the further out you go, the less expensive it is. The farther north that you go, it's also holds true. And definitely if you're, north of Hempstead Highway, it's going to have a very different feeling than south of Hempstead. And, if you're north of Gessner, also has a little bit of a different feeling to it. Just Gessner Street, which is a major street, you'll have a very different feeling on that north side, the Spring Branch side, versus going down on the Memorial side, which is south of I-10. It's just, I hate to use the word junkier, but like, you've just got a lot of commercial, but it's not like pretty commercial properties.
It's more like light industrial.
Yeah, and just a lot of like convenience stores and old tire shops, or I don't know, it's just, it's very eclectic. You've got fast food restaurants and, it's very, very busy. There's a lot going on there. Okay. So back to getting into prices. Single family homes currently range from about $200,000 for a tear down, and that's on a lot that's like 7,800 square feet, which is really pretty affordable, quite frankly, because you could tear that down and build a really nice house on a 7,800 square foot lot. You could easily fit, a 4,000 square foot house, at least, maybe even larger. So that goes on up to 2.9 million, and we're talking about homes that are actively on the market right now. And we're in, the beginning of September 2022. So high end of the range is 2.9 million, and that's for a 6,500 square foot house on a 15,000 square foot lot. So you're almost double the lot size, and again, the location's very dramatically different within the Spring Branch community.
Right.
So, yeah, and we even have clients who are empty nesters who just sold their house in the Heights that are getting ready to move in. There's a newer gated community called Ravenna that's pretty awesome, and it's got this beautiful community pool and the clubhouse. You've got a dog park and what else? They've got like an outdoor dining area.
All the resources that you would want to have in your own home without having to deal with all the maintenance.
Yeah. So it's a pretty good deal, and it's gorgeous. If you're interested in taking a look at Ravenna, give us a call, shoot us a text, and we'll be happy to fill you in and get something set up, because it's a gorgeous place to live.
I would say, heck, if you're interested in Spring Branch at all, give us a call, send us a text message, shoot us an email, however you want to reach out to us.
We have saved what I think is one of the best features of Spring Branch for last. If you don't have kids and schools aren't important to you, then we get it. But if you're buying a house in Houston, it's an investment, and being in a really excellent school district is a big deal as far as your home appreciating and holding its value. So you want to probably stick around and hear this part.
So let's go back to the history thing. So we talked a little bit about Spring Branch tried to become its own municipality as Houston was expanding, and that didn't work out. It was like the 1950s. And however, it had already established what was known as an ISD, an independent school district. So if you're new to Texas, ISD, independent school district, is a super important thing to understand. So while the area itself was annexed into the city of Houston, the independent school district remained independent and is not part of HISD. So it doesn't have to share resources. It doesn't have to cover all of Houston. It's concentrated right there in that Spring Branch and Memorial's Villages area. So because it's independent of HISD, it has a tendency to have better quality schools, better rated schools, schools that you would, the school ratings and school quality that you would normally find in those suburban areas like Katy, Fulshire, the Woodlands, you can find right here in Spring Branch.
That's true.
Yeah.
And there are actually quite a few famous people that went to Spring Branch schools that have been quite successful. So we'll just point out those, not to be name droppers, but that's exactly what we're about to
Exactly
do.
what we'll do.
So the first one, and he actually graduated or went to Memorial High School, was Michael Dell. So for those of you who don't know who Michael Dell is, he's the founder and CEO of Dell Inc. So computers, huge company.
Right.
Billionaire Jeffrey Hildebrand, who's like an oil guy, self-made.
He established a company that does oil exploration, and he conglomerated a lot of oil resources that eventually got sold to some of the bigger producers, Exxon and others.
For those country and western fans out there, like country and western music, Corey Morrow.
I'd never really heard of Corey, but she played me some of the music. I couldn't tell you what his most famous song is, but I really liked his music.
Yeah, it's good. Check him out, Corey Morrow. And then the last name that we're going to throw out there is a little bit of a local celebrity, Roger Clemens. So he's now a retired professional baseball player. He played for the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Astros, went to many World Series, ended his career with a little bit of a controversy, but he actually graduated from Spring Woods High School. So that was north of I-10 in the proper Spring Branch area. And his kids, though, graduated from Memorial High School, which was just south of I-10.
And his kids are all now professional baseball players. Corey, Casey, I think they're still there. So I had lunch with some of my friends out at Fogo de Chao, which is a little bit outside of that Spring Branch area. And of course, Roger and all of his family, there was like 15, 20 of them, came in, and at the same time, it was a little fun celebrity sighting.
Did you say they had to move tables?
Yeah, they did. They had originally set them like right in the middle where everybody was passing their table, and they're like, no, put us back in the back. Give us a little bit of privacy.
You can't blame them for that.
No, of course not.
So like Memorial, a lot of people who grow up in Spring Branch, they leave, they go to school, they do their thing, they get married.
If you guys haven't seen our Memorial video, we'll put a link into it up here. Memorial Villages. There's a lot of similarities between the history and the locations of Memorial Villages, Memorial, and Spring Branch. And if you're interested in one, you should really check out both of them.
Yeah, they're different, so it's good to know the differences.
Right.
In fact, we're probably going to do a video, Memorial versus Spring Branch, just to point out
the similarities.
Pros and cons, differences. So again, a lot of people who grow up in Spring Branch, they go to school, they move away, and then they wind up coming back and raising their kids there. In fact, one of my cousins, her husband grew up in Spring Branch, and so they moved away for work, and when they finally came back to Houston, we just put them in a gorgeous house on a cul-de-sac actually, and they've got their first kid, and they're I'm sure going to raise a big family.
Yep.
And they absolutely love it. The last thing that we just forgot to mention when we talked about schools was that outside of Spring Branch, there's actually one of the best private schools in town. Is called Audi International, and it's actually an international baccalaureate.
Well, International Baccalaureate is sort of like this designation that U.S. schools are trying to get to. This is a school that's actually accredited by the French and the French education system as a standard international school. So if you go to school in Switzerland, or you go to school in France or whatever, it's going to have that same governing body, the same curriculum, the same style. So if you want your kids to go to a private international school, it's located right there in Spring Branch.
And it's right next to Ravenna, so super convenient. All right, well, thanks for sticking around this long, guys. If there are any other videos that you'd like to see, any other areas or topics, questions,
put them down in the comment section. Let us know. And heck, if you stick around this long, give us that thumbs up. It really helps. The algorithm really helps put the information out to other people. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Till next time.
Bye-bye.